Hey guys, it's Daniel, and after slowly coming back to Team Fortress 2, after really not playing so much of it during the month of June, I actually noticed that both then and recently, the game has received a pretty big sum of patch updates with the intention to help with the raging bot problem that pretty much everyone has been suffering through for the past couple of months. Personally, one of the reasons I left, it made it really hard to sit and make content for a game that was just kind of falling apart. And honestly, I was just really starting to lose faith in Valve's, or the TF team, whoever, to really just come in and actually come up with a solution for this problem. Now, while I've done my best to see these updates in full, I avoided making a video each time one of these patch updates came out, just to avoid creating 50 videos on the topic, because that's just not the kind of show I'm running here. Now that around 3 updates have released, I would like to take a look at some of the most important notes in them, and try and just pick Valve's brain about their goals and logic behind these changes. From what I've heard and played just in the last week, they are still hackers and still come in pretty big waves. However, their abilities to pester and annoy players has been stripped down to pretty much only affecting the combat. With that in mind, let's dive into this 3 patch update list and just tackle them one-on-one and just talk about what was added, what was changed, etc. So let's get into it. On June 16, 2020, 46 days after the last update, the TF team released their first update that attempted to fix the bot problem, at which time was getting pretty bad and really angering a lot of the community trying to play the game. The biggest change to come from this was bots being pretty much completely stripped of their ability to effectively chat in official matchmaking modes. This was done by making the entire chat feature inaccessible to accounts labeled as free-to-play, meaning you would have to buy something from the Manco store or just acquire premium through whatever means necessary in order to activate your account as premium and use chat. They also added the ability to enable text and voice chat in the advanced setting. Now, while this was a nice change and it made it more accessible for players to toggle, I don't understand why some people were freaking out about this change, considering they have been commands in the game all this time. Perhaps some people didn't hear about it, but who knows, maybe some people just never really knew the chat commands. They were okay changes, but they weren't anything astronomical. I think a lot of people overreacted on this patch for sure. The final major change in this patch was an improvement to the report menu, which gave a more detailed description of the Steam user you are reporting by showing their name and profile picture, making it way easier to identify the cheater and report him as necessary. Now, this update at the time was great, simply for the fact that we know Valve was actually just attempting to solve the issue, even if it was only after the fact a bunch of game articles started making controversial headlines that probably forced them in a position only to respond because of said titles and reputation saving, yada yada. Anyhow, I'd like to think it was just because they actually cared. Whether it's the case or not, up for debate. Anyhow, it was a good first step to solving the issue. However, it wasn't as effective in actually ridding the bots, but more so negating their spam in text and voice chats. It was at this point that all players would have to do is identify the cheater and remove them from the game completely. However, things weren't perfect, and the bots still would just leave before being kicked, meaning they could just rejoin the server. Also, bots could still spam their naughty text through changing the team name, which was notified in the chat. So the problem would need a whole other update to fix. So while they did fix one thing, the bots ended up kind of finding a workaround. Then, on June 24th, 2020, only 8 days after the last update, the TF team released their second update, both updating more localization files, good job Valve, but taking further steps to negate chat spam among the bots. So for starters, rate limits. Now, this is good in general, so people don't flood the chat with annoying binds in general, but also so that these bots can't do the same with their extremely vulgar and distasteful binds. You've all seen them. I'm not even throwing any up on screen. So they also made it to where accounts that don't have permission to type or talk in chat can't change their name in-game, meaning that bots can no longer spam change their name to more swears and naughty things. Finally, they fixed the team change bug that I mentioned earlier, so that no bot can touch the legacy of teams red and blue. This update, once again, just another good step in the right direction, but people were kind of starting to wonder when the actual problem of the bots joining was going to go away. Removing their ability to spam and annoy players was a good first move, but players were yet to wonder if, and ever, the hackers would be completely gone and unable to harm their gameplay ever again. Including me. I was honestly, when I saw these updates rolling out, I was like, okay, you know, Valve's just doing a little bit more damage, just a couple more SpongeBob band-aids, right? But I was back in my head, I'm thinking, so what's the end game here, you know what I mean? Now, some people were also pretty frustrated at how much new players to the game would suffer given these changes. I mean, new players would pretty much have to attain premium immediately to access any of the social aspects of the game, and while it's a sacrifice made in an attempt to salvage the gameplay, it still leaves a little bit of a head scratch and confliction for new players coming into the game, so it's not really a good It's more of a solution that works for people who have already been playing and are already premium. But if you're even just a free-to-play and you play the game a lot, it's pretty annoying that you can't, socialize pretty much now because of the bots. And now here we are on July 3rd, 2020, only 9 days after the last update. The most recent update from the TF team at the time of recording this video was released to once again fix more things that the bots were exploiting and cheating, and further making it easier for players to mute and kick bots. For starters, accounts that were unable to access text chat can no longer access voice chat, meaning they are now completely unable to socialize with anyone in the chat. So if you are free to play at this point, I feel genuinely bad for you. Also, the ability for bots to remove cosmetics from your second and third cosmetic slot was finally fixed, so everyone can wear the loadouts again without them flying off from the bots. That was actually a pretty annoying one. I really hated that one. The vote kick process was updated so that if the target for the vote leaves the server, everyone will automatically vote yes. Who hasn't voted yet, meaning they can't just leave to avoid the kick, and they will most likely be banned from the server. This is huge and finally kind of keeping them out a little bit. They also updated the mute menu, similar to how they updated the report system, so they can easily identify who you're looking to mute. And finally, they added, this is kind of unrelated to the bot crisis, but they also did fix casual badges, so players could finally see how hollow my life is as a 5th tier casual player. I'm glad that finally got fixed, because it's been broken for a while. Now, with all these changes and updates, there is a big question that is left regarding whether or not this did anything to prevent the bots from plaguing servers. In all honesty, no. While the bots have been revoked of a lot of abilities in terms of spamming chat and voice, the bots still cheat and still have things like aimbot. However, that isn't to say the updates that have been coming out haven't been worthwhile, and it's actually never been easier to really spot a bot, report him, and then kick him due to how much better they've made the menus. And even with the factors that the bots are still here and can cheat, they're usually only one simple vote kick away before you can get back and enjoy your match, making them now more of a minor inconvenience rather than them flooding the chat and just overwhelming the overall vibe of the server, just ruining the game completely. So overall, whether or not Valve or the TF team did this for either the sake of salvaging the cash cow that is TF2, maybe saving their reputation from game articles, or because maybe they still have an ounce of humility for the TF2 community, let's be glad at least something was attempted to try and fix the issue. It isn't perfect, but I'm very happy with the changes they made, regardless of their effectiveness. I'm hoping one day we can completely see the end of these bots so we can get back to playing as normal, but in the meantime, this will do for now. I'd like to thank you all for watching this video. If you enjoyed, leave a like, and as always, thank you, and have a good day.